I think every real horror fan has had at least one experience of feeling out of place when compared with quote-unquote mainstream society, but I don't think there's ever been a really good attempt to understand why it is that people like horror. Like, most horror fans are generally normal people who have pretty good reasons for enjoying horror, but what are those reasons? The real reasons, not the ones they learn to tell people to make society leave them alone. That's what our podcast is about, interviewing people in the horror biz to find out what it is about horror that makes them happy. My name's Steve, I'm a bit of a psychology buff, and my co-host is my friend Chris, who's a big horror buff. And so far we've interviewed about 90 people in the biz and had a lot of fun with it. We wanted to share with you some of the highlights. In this set of excerpts, we're going to share just some of the fun stuff. If you want to hear the real meat of the conversations, come check us out on Apple, Google, or Spotify, or you can use a player on our website. In this set of excerpts, we're going to be talking to Ross Jeffery, author of Tome, Juniper, and Only the Stains Remain, Sara Neidorf, film curator for the Final Girls Berlin Film Festival, and Ray Angelic, producer and production manager for Fright Night, The Eternal, and Bless the Child.
It was just the terror, I think, of losing the ability to have control. And as a kid, when you're like, oh, my parents will look after me, like seeing what happened to Reagan and then her mum, and like actually, it kind of was the first time I was like, oh, the mum actually can't do anything to stop it. And I was like, oh dear, what have I done?
Yeah. Uh-oh. I'm in danger.
Yeah. She claims to be the reason why I write horror, but I don't believe her. But she said that when she was pregnant with me, she was reading Pet Sematary, and I think it was Rosemary's Baby. It was one of the two. But she remembers reading Pet Sematary, and she was just like, that's why you write horror, because I gave that to you. I was just like, really? Don't think that's a medical thing, but anyway.
Just let her have it.
Let her have it. Proud mother.
Yes,
they just have this huge bookcase full of them. And then what really pissed me off was when I decided that I had a love of horror and stuff like that.
They gave them all away.
It was probably around about the time I was at university, and I'd gone to university, and I came home, and all of them were gone. And I was like, what have you done with all the books? And they were like, oh, well, we just gave them all to the charity shop because we didn't want them. And I was like, you what? and then I was like, what? And they were all like first editions. Like, I'm not kidding you. Like first edition Exorcist, first edition Legion, like all these amazing hardback books. And I was just like, I cannot believe you've done that. So I didn't talk to him for a couple of years.
It's like the meme all over.
Yeah,
right.
And then so now I've been journeying the process of kind of trying to buy all those books back. Arachnophobia, when that came out, absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of saw that one coming.
No. Yeah.
Have you heard they're doing a reboot?
I have, and I won't be watching it.
No?
No. Because
once was enough.
Was enough. Well, who knows? I might torture myself and watch it. But knowing special effects nowadays, it'll probably look...
As I was about to say, I've heard it's going to be mostly CG, so it probably won't be as scary as the original.
Yeah, okay.
Have you ever watched Lord of the Rings?
Yes, love Lord of the Rings. And Shelob is one scary mother. Like, I'm not even going to go there. Like,
yes.
I
don't even have a thing for spiders, but that was terrifying. Just the animations and the way that everything moved on it.
Yeah.
Still gives me chills. How do you feel about Jaws the Revenge?
All
right, yeah, that's enough. We'll leave it at
that. Yeah, Jaws 1, Jaws 2, I can cope with, and and Jaws 3's got some good points, but
Sites will be very disappointed.
I'm sorry if there's fans of Jaws the Revenge out there, but
no, one of our previous guests, that was actually her favorite movie.
No, you're kidding me.
No, she was pitching it as a so bad it's good.
I've also that's the one with. Is that the one with? Who's the lead?
Michael Caine.
Michael Caine. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
That is a bad film. But anyway, probably can't get done for this now. Might as well tell you. This is probably when I was like 17, 18. I started renting films from from a certain rental place, and then I'd get it home, and then I would undo the screws on the back of the VHS, take out the film, put in a blank one, and then put the other one into like the blank case, and then take it back to the shop, take it back to like Blockbusters, and be like, this film's like got nothing on it. It must have been magnetized.
No.
And then they were like, oh, okay. And then they take it in.
Okay.
But then I didn't do it at the same place. I was just about
to say, how often were you able to get away with that?
Well, yeah, right. I went to a few.
You went to a few different video places.
Yeah. And then like I had that film, and I was like, and it was before, like, you know, back in the day, like a film would come out at the cinema, it would take like a year for it to come out on VHS, and then another year for it to do so, and it was too long.
Yeah, maybe something that you thought of that you were going to say, and the conversation took a left turn.
No, I think we covered it all. It's mad, man. This podcast is brilliant.
Thank you.
That's incredible. And like when I've listened to the other guys you've had on here and other authors and stuff, like just listening to how you just dig in and like get this stuff out is just absolutely brilliant, and it's such a cool resource like, for us to come on, and it's free. Like I don't have to pay for it. But yeah, like you guys are doing an incredible job.
Thank you.
So hats off to you, and take a bow. Like it's incredible.
How old were you when you saw Killer Clowns?
Probably about 11. Okay. I don't know, something like that. And then I had met the filmmakers at the Monster Mania convention, which was right outside of Philly, also in New Jersey. Yeah, they were awesome. They actually painted a special clown for me. They were they did like little individual commissions, and I didn't even ask for it. They were just like, I don't know. They were flattered by my fascination, and very possibly they might have been flirting with my mom. I'm not sure, but it was very cute. So yeah, that's like I love the creepy ones. I like the harmless ones as well. I feel like they're kind of underdog figures because everyone has this phobia against them.
Was she a horror fan?
Oh yeah,
okay.
She's definitely the person who got me into horror. She showed me Rosemary's Baby and The Shining. And
oh wait, how old were you?
I think I was 13, possibly 12. Yeah. I appreciate it. I was already definitely old enough to appreciate it. And
quote unquote appreciate it.
And we talked about it. Like she, it was really big for me that she treated me kind of like a peer whose opinion she was interested in. You know, like there were always really good in-depth discussions as we were watching and after we were watching, and yeah, it was something that we connected over. We shared a lot of inside jokes, a lot like a common language related to cinema, which became part of how we would relate to the world as well. It's become sort of like a queer, kinky BDSM classic in a way. These the way that the Cenobites are styled and what they represent, and just like there's such good sound design as well.
Oh yeah, the score.
Yeah, the score is amazing.
Timeless.
And just like when you hear they're in this room with all of these like chains and hooks everywhere, and it's rotating, and you hear the chains clinking. You hear this kind of like the flesh hitting against these different metal contraptions. I don't know. Yes. It's just like, it's this kind of film where I was just like, yes, I'm a freak that loves the horrific. Like, I love this. It's like, it's delicious to me, you know? So I think it really, it kind of revels in that in a way. And like Clive Barker is also, he's gay and a perv. And like, there's just sort of like, I really like how like unapologetic he is in the art that he makes. That's an interesting question. I don't think it has anything to do with me being a horror fan.
Okay.
But, you know, maybe I'm answering that too quickly by saying that, because I think it's all related to like, it's all part of that kind of aesthetic. Like, I was like a young goth, you know, I like nu metal that was out in the late 90s and early 2000s, and Kitty and Korn and Slipknot, and I was wearing those shirts, you know, and wearing horror shirts. I remember I had a shirt with Pennywise the Clown on it when I was like 10 years old that I would wear to school. And like, so it's all connected in there. I have a Hellraiser shirt with Pinhead on it, so I'm still wearing this shit. Like I never grew out of it. So yeah, on an aesthetic level, yeah, sure. I guess I set myself apart in that way. I had a playground talk with like the other neighborhood girls who had decided collectively that I was out of their clique. They were like, we decided it's best not to be friends anymore.
Huh.
I
How
know.
old were you?
9. I was 9 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
not
it's
nice.
something that I can laugh about now as well. But at the time, this was, a huge trauma for me. Like, it was just one day, from one day to the next, I had, and then I didn't have any friends. And it was because of what I was wearing, for sure, at that time.
What were you? Are you talking about like the horror stuff or something else?
Yeah, like band T-shirts and whatever, goth makeup and jewelry. The typical Hot Topic shit that was around at this time. There's something about like this particular kind of figure. This figure represents a lot of what I love in horror films, where it's like this elderly, blind, clairvoyant woman who comes in and shakes things up, where this couple, they're just, they're on a kind of working vacation, grieving, having a quiet time. And this like creepy ass old blind woman comes in and is like, let me take you to the other world. You know what I mean? Like she's sort of this like bridge to the underworld or whatever. And, sorry, I didn't mean to sound like I'm like, she's a creepy ass old blind woman. Like, yeah, I mean, that's my sense of humor with these things. You know what I mean? But actually, I'm like, she's awesome. Like, that's my hero. You know what I mean? That's the hero of the film.
As the character in the house comes into the room or turns around, he just sort of like slides sideways out of frame into the fog. And I remember that completely creeping me out as a kid.
Okay.
Oh, and the biggest one of all. Jaws, Ben Gardner's head in the hole in the boat. So my mom took me to see that when it came out. So, I guess I was like 6 years old or something. And like my father, I specifically remember kneeling down on the floor behind the chairs, crying and saying, I want to go home. I want to go home.
Well, did she take you home?
She did not.
Oh.
Hold on. It might get better,
Yeah.
You wanted this. Now you get it.
Exactly. We were home alone one night and something started banging on our front door. And we were terrified and screaming, and we called a neighbor. And at this point, we lived in Connecticut, where you were, mostly in the woods. You couldn't see other houses. And something was banging on our door, and we called the neighbor. And I remember he came flying up our driveway in his Jeep with all of his, the floodlights on the roof turned on. And it was a giant, everyone's waiting for something scary, dog. It was a bloodhound, a big bloodhound. And he was, that we had found as a stray and took in for like a week or so. And then, we didn't have him anymore, and he found his way back to our house and was like pawing at the front door. But we did not expect there to be a dog or anything else at the door. It was just a banging and a scratching, and it terrified us. We also sort of fell into a bad horror film sort of thing where we would, we loved movies like, it could be Ed Wood movies, it could be the Herschel Gordon Lewis movies, Don Dohler movies, but that's where we started watching, Blood Feast and 2000 Maniacs. Basket Case was a huge one. It's the Evil Dead movies. It's funny. What I remember about Evil Dead was, I think when it came out, I was in 6th or 7th grade, and I remember it being talked about on the playground as a movie that scared the 8th graders.
That's a good ranking system. Like, it scares 8th graders.
Totally. He was from Michigan, and he had gone to the premiere of The Evil Dead years earlier, and he had the book, like the booklet they handed out, and his ticket stub. And this is back when the movie was called Book of the Dead, before it was Evil Dead.
Yep.
And he gave me both of those things.
Oh,
wow.
Which I was just like blown away by. So he instantly became my favorite grown-up in the world.
Yep. We're best friends now.
Did you pay more attention in geometry class from that point?
Let me tell you, the crazy thing is I was a 100% like A+ geometry student in that class. Yeah, it's amazing.
Was that before or after the gift?
I think they happened around the same time. I think but no, just having a great, cool, enthusiastic teacher always helped. And that for sure made me pay more attention and get more into it. And one Halloween, he told me, make a horror compilation, and that's what we'll show in the classroom. And I remember, again, in Farrell's basement, we cut together nothing but, it was like 40 minutes of gore sequences.
Awesome.
And then this was back in the old days, roll in the TV cart. And he let me play it. And I just remember thinking at the time, like, this is nothing but mutilation and gore and violence.
You're right.
And there was a girl in the class who was an exchange student. I think she was.
Oh no.
Yeah. I think she was.
You Americans are crazy.
Totally. And she was just like baffled and shocked, which was what was so funny, because there was that comedy Summer School in the 80s. And it has two horror fans who keep coming in and disrupting class by staging fake deaths and gore. And there's an Italian exchange student who's just like completely enamored with it. And I was like,
shame to admit this about a lot of older movies. Back to Stage is still on my list. I haven't seen it, but I imagine it's very similar to Bad Milo, if you've seen it.
Oh, I've never seen Bad Milo. I know of it, but yeah, I haven't seen it.
It's similar, grotesque mutant creature that the protagonist befriends, and they kill people together. It's fun.
Beautiful. Love it.
Also, he lives in his butt.
Oh, okay. Well, amazing. Well, the funny one, I'm not the first person to point this out, but whatever it was, a year or two, the movie Malignant. I was like, Malignant is basically a Basket Case remake.
It kind of is, yeah. Again, haven't seen it, but from what I've heard about Basket Case, Malignant is on the same vein, yeah.
So yeah, come check us out over at horrormakeshappy.com, or check out some of our other excerpts until you find someone whose interview you do want to hear.